Severance Season 2 is good. Very good. This show continues to be one of the best things I've ever watched on television, and at the end of Season 1 and the world that they'd built up, with how peak that season was, I didn't think that they'd be able to continue on that high, and I didn't know what to expect going into this season, but I'm glad to say that they delivered for the most part. I really like the season as a whole, but I do have a few minor complaints that I'll get to later on in the video. This show is still the best at exploring the existential crisis and dilemma that they introduced with the concept of innies and outies, especially now in this season. I think even more than season 1, because now the innies are even more developed and fleshed out as characters, and you really see the differences between their innie and outies and the impact that it has on each person, and it leads to some great storytelling. I liked a lot about this season, especially the characters. All of the arcs this season were really good, and there wasn't a single boring character in the cast, except for Cobell though. I'll get to that later. And I think this finale is one of the best episodes they've produced in the entire show. I think it's a close second right behind the season 1 finale. I love the development they gave to Mark's innie, and his story this season mainly revolved around finding his outie's wife, Gemma, or for him, Miss Casey, and the further development of his and Helly R's relationship. But as he goes on this journey, you see him becoming more and more of a fleshed out character and separate from his outie, and the differences between the two of them. He starts to really become on his own and experience a full life, especially after his intimate moments with Helly. He's really trying to find his own identity separate from his outie and wanting to live his own life with the woman he loves, and how that clashes in the finale. We also see Helena, or Helly's outie, being developed, and she's jealous of her innie that found love and she didn't. And for the entire first half of the season, she's just pretending to be here and experience that firsthand for herself, because she's never gotten that before. And there's Dylan, who's finding new purpose and new meaning for his life ever since he met his kids in the first season. And now he gets the chance to meet his outie's wife every now and then, and that brings new purpose to him. And it really takes him on his own journey, separate from the others in the story, and sometimes causes him to not go along with the plans of the rest of the innies, because he's getting to see his wife and he doesn't want that taken away from him. And then there's Irving, who had my personal favorite arc of the season. He began in season 1 as this literal glazer for Lumen, pretty much worshipping their founders and their ideology. But now in season 2, where his character ends off, pretty much the complete opposite from where he started. And that development was beautifully crafted. Ever since he went outside, he's become more distrusting of Lumen, and eventually he's the first one to figure out that Helly is an imposter. But we still don't know how his outie is seeing the black hallway, but I guess they're saving that for season 3. I don't know. Seeing the end of his innie, the scene in that episode was beautifully done. The episode started off with him opening his eyes, and poetically, his innie life basically being ended with him shutting his eyes for one final time. And now we get to see his outie, who's in a completely different place, conflicted over his innie's love for Bert, and him never experiencing love himself, wanting to try it, but him, Bert, and Bert's husband being in this awkward place with his character pretty much leaving the city and leaving town. Who knows where he went? Maybe he's starting his own new life? I don't know, he was completely out of the show. We'll have to see. And then there's also Mr. Milchick, who I think is hands down my favorite character in the show, and he pretty much steals the show for every single scene he's in. He just has such a threatening, cold presence, and he's just the embodiment of everything corporate in such a scary way. And we even see some development in his character as he becomes the floor manager, and when he gets his seasonal or quarterly review, the disappointment from his higher ups, you start to see cracks in his character and a little bit of unapologeticness towards Lumen. You see it in the paintings that he got from Natalie and the phone call with Mark towards the end, where he sounded different, sounded more human. I hope that carries into season 3 and we get to see more of this conflicted Mr. Milchick. I think it'll be really cool. I love the whole bit with this character, how him having his overly complex vocabulary is actually becoming a problem within the company itself, and his coworkers complaining about it. I thought that was really funny. And then that finale, holy, that finale. I'm going to sit up for this one because that was a jam-packed episode We got Cobell revealing what the purpose of MDR is and what the numbers mean on screen. Basically, they're developing new INI personalities. So every time Mark completes one of his files, he's creating a new INI personality for Gemma. Part of the big mystery behind Lumen and MDR was that we didn't know what the numbers meant. And I was worried that when they would reveal them, it wouldn't live up to this big mystery that they've crafted behind it. But I think this definitely works. And I think, in fact, it makes it even crazier than when we didn't know. Because now, thinking back to everything that they've done, using their feelings to sort the numbers in the files, just what they've created, what types of personalities they've created for different people, kind of insane to think about. Especially Mark. He's basically manipulating his wife's mind. So I think that's really interesting to see how that'll play out next season. But that also raises the question of, if Mark's refining files and that creates the personalities for Gemma, whose personalities are the other refiners making? Why is Gemma the most important one? I think that gives them so many different ways they could go about it. I think it'd be really cool to see what they do with it. Then we also get the INI and Audi Mark conversation. We're then discussing the plan. But you see that INI Mark is not really on board with it, because if they get Gemma out, they take down Lumen. But they take down Lumen, his life basically ends. So for him, going through with this plan is basically suicide. And I think that brings up such an interesting conflict between the two that gets paid off later in the episode, but it's really cool position to put the characters in. And when I first heard that, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. And how much that weighs out for all the INIs. It's like, if we take out Lumen, what happens to the INIs? They basically die. So do we want to take out Lumen? I don't know, right? We want to, obviously, but it's not just gonna be a happy ending. These guys are basically gonna die. But that scene had great performance by Adam Scott, portraying both of the characters' personalities and being able to differentiate between the two. I think it was really well done. Then we got the fight with Drummond, Mark, and the goat lady. I thought that was a really cool scene because there hasn't really been much physical violence in this show, and I think this was definitely earned. We were built up all this tension to this point where we're enslaving these goats. I still don't know what for, but Mark is essentially trying to find the room, and Cold Harbor is done, so they really don't have much use for Mark anymore. And Drummond's like, fuck it, let's get rid of this guy. He's causing more problems for us than any good now, so let's get rid of him. And then we got Mark rescuing Gemma, and I think we got all 4 combinations of their innies and outies, which was really sweet. The moment of them reuniting, both their outies seeing each other for the first time in 2 years, I thought was really sweet and really paid off well emotionally. Then meanwhile all this, we have the marching band and Helly and Dylan basically going after Milchick in the room. Get more Milchick dancing, which is always a blast to see. We definitely have at least one Milchick dance scene per season. No questions asked. Like, at this point, come on now. Ben Stiller, if we're not doing this, what are we doing? I think the ending of the episode was also spectacular and makes complete sense to me. I saw some people saying online it doesn't make any sense, and I don't know where they're coming from. I think it makes total sense to me because Mark's Innie's still a good guy, right? He got Gemma out of there, but that's not the woman he loves. And he did his part for Audi Mark by getting Gemma out into safety. But for him, he doesn't have any feelings for this woman. She's not the woman he cares about. And if he leaves and goes outside with her, it's basically suicide for him. He's never gonna come back, never gonna get to live his life with Helly R, who's the person he actually cares about. And then Helly shows up, and to him even more. It's like, yeah, why would I go out with Gemma? Helly's right here. Even if my life is gonna end in like 10 minutes, I'd rather spend those 10 minutes with the woman I love and care about instead of going out for this other woman I have absolutely no feelings for her. So I think that ending makes complete sense, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the characters in the next season. Now getting into things I didn't quite like about the season. I think there was definitely some pacing issues this season. Some of the episodes felt really slow and boring at some times, especially the Cobell episode. That episode's story didn't really need a full episode to be explained. Like, they really dragged that one out. That very easily could have been just a B plot to another episode and just woven in. I think it would have worked perfectly fine. They could have cut it down to like half the time and it would have worked just the same. Cobell's character also just kind of pisses me off. She was fine in season 1, but I think just the way she talks is purposely trying to be ominous and mysterious, but she talks so slow. Mark, have you finished Cold Harbor? Like, you see what I mean? That just on its own, if she talked normally, could have cut the story down into half, right? Cobell's character just pissing me off kind of, and her presence throughout the season was alright. She was there at the beginning. Like, she doesn't like Lumen anymore, but she's born and raised with Lumen, but she wasn't there through the middle of the season and kind of forgot about her, I'll be honest, until the very end. Cobell was alright. Then, I think there are like minor plot holes in the season, or plot conveniences, especially the Innie Forest Retreat episode. Like, the whole logistics behind that, right? We have all 4 of the Innies being brought outside for an overnight retreat. Are their outies just okay with this? Like, how did Lumen approach them? Like, hey guys, we're just gonna take Mark over to the forest for a couple of days, okay? His Innie is being rewarded with a forest retreat. So him and the other guys, we're just gonna hang out in the forest for a little bit. You know, don't mind us. I know we have your wife and hidden away somewhere, and you guys don't really like us right now, but we're still just gonna take them out over there, and you won't see him for a couple of days. But yeah, that's Severance season 2. I think on a whole, this season was still really good. Definitely not as strong as season 1, but it sets up a lot moving forward and changes the whole dynamic and place where the characters are. I'm really excited for what they do next season and where they take the story, because there's just so many different places they could take it that no matter what they do, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more TV show and movie reviews. And really appreciate it. Take care.